6-3 and 6-3. 39 unforced errors. A former Grand Slam finalist totally collapsed against a 20-year-old talent right in the first round of the Madrid Open. When Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova called a medical timeout, 90% of the stadium believed the momentum of Eala would break. Why did this familiar psychological weapon turn into a fatal blow that ended the Russian veteran? The stadium fell silent for 3 full minutes. The red clay of Madrid waited. A pause like this usually freezes a young player. It cools their fire. It makes them think too much. But the exact opposite happened. Eala did not lose her rhythm. Her serve speed stayed fierce. Her topspin got heavier. Anastasia returned to the baseline and missed 4 straight shots. She looked lost. The medical timeout did not heal her. It triggered a fatal flaw that Eala had already set up. Let us look closely at the moments right before the medical timeout. Anastasia had just lost a crucial break of serve. Her breathing was heavy. Her shoulders dropped. She signaled for the trainer. Tennis fans know this move well. It is a tactical pause designed to disrupt the opponent as much as to treat an injury. The crowd murmured. The camera zoomed in on the face of the young player from the Philippines. There was no panic. There was no frustration. Eala simply walked to her bench and stared straight ahead. She was calculating. She was processing the physical decay happening on the other side of the net. When play resumed, everyone expected the rookie to tighten up. Instead, the rookie delivered a masterclass in execution. Anastasia swung wildly. The ball flew 2 meters long. Then it crashed into the bottom of the net. 4 errors in under 2 minutes. The match was completely hijacked. What did Eala realize in those 3 minutes of silence? She realized the veteran was drowning. Experience usually wins on the professional tennis tour, but experience was completely neutralized by ruthless adaptation. Anastasia possesses one of the heaviest swings in the sport. So why did her best shots keep failing? The altitude of Madrid creates high bounces. The air is thinner. The ball moves faster through the air. This environment normally favors power baseline players who want to hit hard and end points quickly. Anastasia built her career on this exact style of play. Yet, in this match, she was gasping for air. Her footwork was slow. Her steps were consistently late to the ball. She knew her body was failing in the long physical exchanges. She had to hit winners early in the rally. She had to take risks. Eala saw this panic. She did not rush forward to end the points. She stepped back 1.5 meters behind the baseline right after the timeout. She built a physical trap. Of those 39 unforced errors, more than 65% came from rushed attacks when Anastasia was pushed completely out of her comfort zone. The rush was not an accident. The data shows Eala created a spatial prison that forced the veteran to pull the trigger too early. This battle was not decided by who hit harder. It was decided by who manipulated the pace with more precision. Eala played the role of a puppeteer. She fed the veteran just enough pace to invite a big swing, but kept the ball deep enough to make that swing dangerous and unpredictable. How does a 20-year-old maintain a wall of defense against relentless flat power from across the net? The secret is in the depth of the return. Every return from Eala landed right on the baseline. This took away all the angles. It took away the time Anastasia desperately needed to set her feet. Eala isolated her target with brutal efficiency. She aimed straight and fast at the backhand side. That backhand had completely lost its feel. Whenever the ball floated even slightly into the middle of the court, Eala jumped into the court. She executed the inside-out forehand with punishing speed. The body language told the real story. Anastasia shook her head after every miss. She looked over at her coaching box with empty eyes. She knew her legs could not execute her tactical plans. The psychological collapse became absolute when she hit 3 double faults in the most crucial service game of the second set. Those 3 double faults were the sound of a veteran breaking under pressure. The weight of the moment crushed her. She tossed the ball up and swung, but her legs provided no power. The ball slapped the net. The crowd gasped. The 20-year-old simply walked back to the baseline and prepared to return again. Eala gave no free points. She gave no emotional reactions. She just kept the pressure high. But the final blow of this 6-3-6-3 masterclass did not come from those deep returns or inside-out forehands. It came from a secret tactical shift during those exact 3 minutes of rest. The 3 minutes the veteran took to recover became the exact window Eala used to download the perfect tactical patch. Most young athletes choke when the match stops. They lose their flow. Why did Eala explode with such cruel efficiency instead? During the timeout, there was a silent exchange of glances between Eala and her coaching team. They noticed something critical. Anastasia was struggling to move forward and backward. Her lateral movement was already slow, but her vertical movement was completely gone. The tactical shift was immediate and extreme. Eala changed her strategy 180 degrees. She shifted from deep baseline rallies to an aggressive short game. She deployed the drop shot. This was not just a random choice. It was a targeted attack on the lungs and legs of the Russian player. Eala sliced the ball perfectly over the net. The ball bounced twice before Anastasia could even reach the service line. When the veteran did manage to sprint forward and scrape the ball back, she was completely out of position. Eala simply tossed a lob perfectly over her head. The sequence was devastating. Sprint forward. Gasp for air. Watch the ball fly backward. It was a torture chamber built on clay. The statistics highlight the brilliance of this adjustment. The win rate on points lasting under 4 shots suddenly spiked to 80% for Alex Eala. She did not want long rallies anymore. She wanted to expose the lack of mobility. It was a beautiful paradox. The harder Anastasia tried to use her power, the more Eala used soft touch to absorb and redirect that power. The heavy baseline strokes were met with delicate drop shots. The brute force was met with pure finesse. Every drop shot was a physical tax on the Russian. By the middle of the second set, the physical tax had bankrupted her energy completely. Her face was red. Her posture was completely bent. She was a giant felled by 1,000 tiny, precise cuts. The numbers from the match tell a cold and undeniable truth. This upset was not a lucky day for a rising star. It was a systematic execution. How deep did this execution go? Let us look at the serving data. The foundation of any tennis upset starts with the serve. Eala maintained a first serve percentage above 72%. That number is a psychological wall. It meant Anastasia rarely got a look at a weak second serve. She was constantly under pressure right from the first strike of the rally. The win predictor metric shifted entirely just 2 games after the medical timeout. The machine learning algorithms watching the match recognized the physical collapse before the human eye could process it fully. The algorithm saw the average rally length drop from 8 shots in the first set down to just 3 shots in the second set. The veteran was bailing out of points. She was going for wild winners because she could not sustain the physical toll of the clay court. The breakpoint statistics are even more terrifying. Eala faced 4 breakpoints in the entire match. She saved all 4. She did not save them by waiting for an error. She saved them by stepping inside the baseline and hitting clean winners. She took the racket out of the hands of her opponent. Let us rewind to the very first game of the match. The sun was bright over the stadium. The dirt was fresh. Anastasia stepped to the line with the heavy swagger of a player who has seen every scenario on a tennis court. She hit her first forehand with massive pace. The ball exploded off the clay. The message was clear. She wanted to bully the younger player right off the court. But Eala simply absorbed the pace. She bent her knees deeply. She tracked the ball perfectly and sent it back with heavy spin. The rally lasted 14 shots. Anastasia finally missed a backhand wide. That single point set the tone for the entire afternoon. The veteran realized immediately that her power alone would not be enough. The rookie was not afraid of the heavy ball. This realization acts like a poison in the mind of a power player. When your best weapon fails to damage the opponent, panic sets in quickly. Anastasia tried to hit closer to the lines. She tried to add 5 miles per hour to her serve. This is the danger zone in professional tennis. The margins shrink. The errors multiply. By the time the score reached 3-3 in the first set, the pattern was locked in place. Eala was serving with total freedom. She tossed the ball high into the Spanish sky and cracked serves out wide to stretch the returner. She followed those serves with punishing strikes to the open court. The execution was flawless. The crowd started to lean forward in their seats. They sensed an upset brewing in the afternoon heat. They watched the 20-year-old dictate the terms of engagement against a player who once stood in a Grand Slam final. The contrast between the two players became sharper with every passing game. Anastasia was loud. She grunted heavily with every swing. She stamped her feet. She showed her frustration to everyone in the stadium. Eala was silent. She moved like a shadow across the baseline. She showed zero emotion after hitting a clean winner down the line. She showed zero emotion after making a rare, unforced error. This emotional blankness is terrifying to play against. It gives the opponent absolutely no information. Anastasia could not tell if Eala was nervous, tired, or angry. She only saw a wall that kept returning her best shots. This silence amplifies the pressure. When you are screaming internally and your opponent is completely calm, the court feels very small. The tactical brilliance of Eala was not just in her shot selection. It was in her court positioning. Tennis on clay is a game of geometry. You have to open the court to hit a winner. Anastasia wanted to play cross-court rallies. She wanted to lock Eala into a backhand-to-backhand exchange. The veteran has a notoriously heavy cross-court backhand, but Eala refused to play that game. She constantly changed the direction of the ball. She hit down the line early in the rally. This forced Anastasia to sprint laterally across the slick dirt. The heavy steps of the veteran left deep slide marks on the court. She was always one step behind the play. Eala was controlling the center of the court, while Anastasia was running on the edges. The physical toll of this geometry is massive. It drains the legs. It burns the lungs. By the end of the first set, the 6-3 scoreline felt inevitable. Then came the fateful moment in the second set. Anastasia lost her serve again. She walked to the chair. She called for the trainer. The medical timeout began. The stadium music played loudly to entertain the crowd during the break. The camera focused on the medical staff working on the veteran. The commentators speculated about the severity of the injury. But the real story was happening on the other side of the net. Eala drank her water. She wiped her face with a towel. Her coach sat in the stands. They did not speak, but they communicated perfectly. The coach tapped his head. Eala nodded. They both knew the veteran was out of gas. They both knew the medical timeout was a desperate attempt to break the rhythm of the match. It was a plea for survival. When time was called, the players returned to the baseline. Anastasia bounced the ball slowly. She tossed it up and served. It was a weak second serve that landed short in the box. Eala stepped in and crushed a forehand winner straight down the line. The crowd erupted. Anastasia dropped her head. The timeout had completely failed. It had backfired in the worst possible way. It gave Eala time to see the fear in her opponent. It gave her time to realize she was in absolute control. The next 4 points were a blur of errors from the Russian racket. The ball flew everywhere except inside the lines. The match was essentially over at that exact moment. Let us break down the anatomy of those 39 errors. Tennis analysts often dismiss unforced errors as simply bad days at the office. They say the player just lost their feel. But at this elite level, an error is almost always provoked by the opponent. Eala provoked those errors with a masterclass in spin rate manipulation. She did not hit the ball with the same pace twice in a row. She hit a heavy, high-bouncing ball deep into the court. Then she hit a low, slicing backhand that barely cleared the net. Anastasia was constantly adjusting her grip and her footwork. Her brain was calculating too many variables. When the brain gets tired, the feet stop moving. When the feet stop moving, the ball sails long. Eala turned the tennis court into a puzzle that the veteran could not solve. The crowd in Madrid loves clay court tennis. They respect the tactical grind. They started to applaud every time Eala set up a point. They recognized they were watching a strategic demolition. Anastasia tried one last desperate tactic. She started coming to the net. She wanted to shorten the points by volleying the ball away. But her approach shots lacked depth. Eala easily passed her with sharply angled forehands. The ball zipped past the veteran before she could even split step. Eala was toying with her. She was showing the entire tennis world that she belongs on the biggest stages. The final game was a formality. Eala served for the match with cold-blooded precision, an ace out wide, a service winner down the middle. And finally, one last wild error from Anastasia, 6-3, 6-3. The match was over, but the questions were just beginning. How did a 20-year-old possess the mental fortitude to execute such a complex game plan? Most players her age rely purely on their raw talent. They hit hard and hope for the best. Eala played like a 10-year veteran of the tour. She diagnosed a problem, selected the right tools, and dismantled her opponent piece by piece. This is the hallmark of a future champion. The tour is full of young players who can hit the ball hard, but the tour has very few young players who can outsmart a Grand Slam finalist on a clay court. This victory sends a loud and dangerous signal to the rest of the locker room. Alex Eala is not just a prospect anymore. She is a massive threat. But the celebration must be extremely short. The brutal reality of professional tennis is that the reward for winning a grueling match is simply another grueling match. The bracket shows no mercy. Waiting in the second round is a player who thrives on destroying the dreams of young prodigies. Elise Mertens is currently ranked number 19 in the world. She is a completely different puzzle. She does not run out of gas. She does not panic when the rally goes past 10 shots. She does not hand out free points. If Anastasia was a storm of raw power, Elise is a cold and calculating machine. How will Eala crack a defense that never breaks? Elise Mertens builds her entire game on consistency. She absorbs power effortlessly. She redirects the ball into awkward spaces. She forces you to hit 5 great shots to win a single point. Against Anastasia, Eala was the puppeteer. She controlled the strings. She dictated the pace. But against Elise, Eala will be facing a mirror image of her own tactical brilliance. Elise will try to trap Eala in the exact same spatial prisons. She will use the high altitude of Madrid to push the 20-year-old deep behind the baseline. Eala cannot rely on the opponent imploding. She cannot wait for 39 unforced errors. She will have to generate her own offense. She will have to step out of her comfort zone and take massive risks against a player who feeds on risk. The transition from playing a power hitter to playing a tactical counterpuncher is the hardest adjustment in tennis. Eala must completely rewrite her game plan in less than 48 hours. The drop shots that worked so beautifully against the tired legs of Anastasia will be chased down and punished by the fresh legs of Elise. The heavy, deep returns will be met with even heavier, deeper replies. Eala defused the bomb in round 1. Now she has to break into the vault in round 2. Can the prodigy from the Philippines evolve her game fast enough to survive the 19th-ranked player in the world? The dirt of Madrid will provide the answer. But one thing is already absolutely certain. The tennis world is watching Alex Eala with a completely new level of respect. She must prove that the tactical mastery she displayed in the first round was not just a perfect matchup, but a permanent evolution of her tennis mind. Mertens will test the forehand side. She will hit flat and low, denying Eala the time to set up those heavy topspin strikes. The 20-year-old will have to find a new gear. She will need to flatten out her own shots. She will have to drive the ball through the high-altitude air rather than spinning it heavily. The physical demands will be entirely different. There will be no easy errors. Every single point will be a brutal baseline negotiation. This is exactly where elite players are forged. The great champions do not just win the matches they are supposed to win. They win the matches that force them to change their entire identity on the court. Eala showed she can dismantle a veteran who relies on brute force. Now she faces the ultimate test of patience and precision. The medical timeout trick will not happen. Mertens does not blink. She does not fade. The Philippine prodigy will have to stare down the machine and outwork it. Can this brilliant 20-year-old brain hack the defense of a top 20 star? The answer will define her entire clay court season. The trap is set. Let me know down in the comments how many sets you think Eala will need to break the Mertens wall. Drop your exact scoreline predictions right now. Hit that subscribe button so you do not miss our full tactical breakdown of round 2. We will be watching every single point. See you in the next one.